As we continue through Paul's little letter to Philemon, our verse we're going to focus on today is verse 16. And it's part of Paul's plea on behalf of Onesimus. And he's expressing in verse 15 about why maybe God took Onesimus away for a while from Philemon and might be bringing him back. And part of that is the idea that he might have him back forever. Then verse 16, no longer as a slave, but more than a slave, a beloved brother, especially to me, but how much more to you, both in the flesh and in the Lord. So what does Paul mean by that, and what does it have to do with you and with me as we seek to live out our faith? I think the key part of this verse is the phrase, a beloved brother. It's not that hard in life sometimes to look at other people for what they can do for us in a transactional sense. So when we go to the store and you're going through the line and you may just not even think about the cashier or the person bagging the groceries. They're just there to do something for you. And it can be easy not to think of them as people and as human beings and, who have their own feelings and their own struggles. And Onesimus, remember, was a slave in Philemon's household, and now Paul is encouraging him not to look at him as a slave, as not to look at him in economic terms or transactional terms, but to look at him as a brother. And one of the things about being a Christian is the idea that we look at other human beings, especially those who are part of the family of faith, but even other people who aren't. That really we're all brothers and sisters, right? We are part of God's family, and it makes a big difference when you just take a moment to talk to a person behind the counter in a store, when you talk to someone in a checkout line, and when you acknowledge someone's humanity. And part of what Paul is saying, that he's a beloved brother, especially to me, but how much more to you, both in the flesh and in the Lord. Part of what Paul means by that is that in the flesh, because Onesimus in his physical presence is going to be back with Philemon and Apphia and a part of their household, and I'm guessing not to serve in the same way as a slave, but as a brother in Christ, a partner in the work of the kingdom, which is what Paul wants and how Paul sees Onesimus. So part of what I would encourage you this day is you take from verse 16 here is how you look at other people, and not to look at them from an economic point of view or how they can serve you point of view, but to remember to look at the people you see as if they're your brothers and sisters in Christ and in the family of God.